Happy Turkey Day, everyone, and I hope you guys are having a safe and responsible Thanksgiving. You're staying at home, hopefully wearing a mask, and hopefully watching some more movies. And today, I want to talk about a movie I usually watch every Thanksgiving, and that is the movie, of course, Rocky. Rocky was released in 1976, written by Sylvester Stallone, the film's star, and directed by John J. Avildsen. Rocky follows Rocky Balboa, played by Sylvester Stallone, a boxer and loan shark who lives in Philadelphia in a low-income community, and when Apollo Creed, played by Carl Weathers, decides to shake up his usual matches by not necessarily going up against other heavyweights, but bringing in a newcomer, it's up to Rocky to seize his moment and to seize his moment well. Let me ask you a question. Why do we love sports movies? I mean, really think about it. Our whole culture has been very much devoted to the essence of sports. We have video games for sports. We got sports memorabilia. We got sports fans. We got sports commentators, sports historians. Why are we so into the idea of sports? Well, I think it can kind of be boiled down with this movie. The essence of this movie is essentially an underdog story. I think anyone who watches this movie will feel the entirety of what the film is going for its underdog nature. Rocky Balboa himself is not necessarily a high-profile character in this movie. In fact, he's not really seen by most people. And it's when, well, the person who literally represents America with his outfit at the end of the movie decides to take him up and give him the opportunity. It's the opportunities that we get and how we use that opportunity that define who we are. And Rocky is the typical underdog story. He's partly an immigrant. He's a person that, believes in the American dream and the American prospect. Even in fact, in this movie, Rocky is actually asked, do you think America is the land of opportunity? And that is where this movie's core central tenet is. It's very much a film that is a part of this grand message of, America is the land of opportunity. And it's what we do with that opportunity that defines who we are and how we eventually live. Or how we, go with our challenges. And that is pretty much a message that a lot of people can really get behind, because we always feel, I think most average people feel like we're the underdog, We have to go up against big corporations. We have to go against our fellow coworkers. We have to go up against other things. And I think the thing is, when you tie it into sports culture, you understand why some people root for teams that don't necessarily win all the time, My family's a huge Seahawks family, We live near the Seahawks home state. We live in Oregon, but, Washington is, right up the road, and Seattle's been kind of our big go-to. And even though they don't necessarily win every year, there's this essence of rooting for an underdog. And I think also partly the reason why this film resonates with some people in terms of underdog stories is that this really is an underdog movie when you look at it from its production standpoint. Sylvester Stallone, this is what I'm about to say is not necessarily proven, but it is kind of the common folklore around the movie. And it's commonly said that before this movie was even made, Sylvester Stallone was not necessarily doing well financially. He had been an actor up until that point, he'd been doing some uncredited stuff. And this was before he did things like Rambo or Judge Dredd or Demolition Man. This was before he did all that stuff. And he wrote the script, and he tried to sell it to so many people. And he even had to sell his own dog just to try to make ends meet in terms of his bills. And that dog later, as soon as he got his script bought by United Artists, who eventually produced the movie, he bought back his dog for a lot more than he sold it for. And that dog, Butkus, a Mastiff? Yeah, a Bull Mastiff. Sorry, I had to look at my notes real quick. The Bull Mastiff, Butkus, is actually seen in the first two movies. He's the dog that Rocky has, and it is actually his own dog, which is very heartwarming if you think about it. It's like I don't know, it's just something cute about that. And Rocky in this movie is probably the most humble you'll ever probably see of this character, up until maybe like the later movies in the franchise. But in this first movie, he's a very humble person. In the beginning, he's not necessarily a person that's always wanting to go for every shot he's given. He's not always there to get every opportunity. He just sometimes want to, continue to pass by, pass go, and all that stuff. But it isn't until he's given that shot, and it isn't until other people give him that shot, allow him to make himself or prove himself, that he's allowed to, be himself. You know what I mean? The thing that rubbed me the wrong way in this movie, the only one thing that I could say doesn't necessarily work for me, is how Adrian and Rocky get together. Like, Rocky definitely has, in the scene where they actually do get together, where they kiss, it always kind of felt a little bit off to me, how Rocky was kind of persistent in trying to get Adrian to kiss him. And Adrian, for the most part in that scene, was very uncomfortable. And I don't know if I'm taking it the wrong way or if I'm taking it the right way, but to me, it just screamed kind of like, yeah, this is not okay. There's not clear communication between the two. And I guess it doesn't live up to modern standards. That's just the writing of the 70s, and that's how Sylvester Stallone chose to write that scene. But I wasn't a fan of that scene. And I do think that Adrian's relationship to Rocky gets better over time, especially in number 3, where she kind of gets fed up with his antics sometimes. But I'll talk about Rocky 3 eventually. But yeah, so that's kind of my one gripe with the movie. But it doesn't break the movie for me, because the rest of the movie is everything you would want it to be, and it's everything you've heard it would be. It's a movie that is a pump-up movie, a pent-up movie. It's a movie that, in my opinion, is kind of the best workout movie, if that makes sense. And this is why I pair it with Thanksgiving, is because you have all this, like, when you pair up Rocky with Thanksgiving, it gets you in the mood to, like, exercise afterwards. Like, you can't go 1 second when talking about Rocky and not mention the music. The music and the montage sequence, when you pair those two together, it makes for an incredible thing. And this was before the 80s, where, like, 80s montages were, like, made fun of in the 90s and the 2000s. Like, this was before all that, and this was the montage that every, like, sports movie after has. This is the blueprint here. And I find it very energetic. You get that da 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 da. You get that really triumphant music, him running up to the Philadelphia Square. Just a lot of really cool scenes in that movie. I think the music is just so well done in this movie. It does get better throughout the franchise, but this is like the most nostalgic thing about the whole movie. The music and the montage scene before the big fight between him and Apollo Creed, which, can I say, is at times a little bit white-knuckled, but it isn't the best fight of the series. I think the final fight is good for a Rocky movie. I think it's well choreographed. I think it's well shot, but it isn't the best fight for me in terms of fight sequences. There are better fights in the franchise, but this is the one that most people were associated with. And what adds to the underdog nature of this movie is the fact that this is a movie that was brought up from Sylvester Stallone, who was living in almost poverty when he wrote it, and it wins Best Picture at the Academy Awards in 1977. Like, what kind of Cinderella story would you not want to have in this case? When was the last time you ever had a Cinderella story like that at the Oscars, where you have someone so independent, so small, being brought up to the big leagues, and then being able to get an Oscar in 1977 for the movie itself? What other Cinderella story is there? As far as I know anyway, having not done a lot of research on all the Academy Awards, this is the one time I could say to myself, wow, this is a true Cinderella story, almost. As of this recording now, this movie has had a huge impact, not just on sports movies, but the future of this franchise. There has been 4 other Rocky sequels, as well as 2 spin-off movies that are part of the same universe, the Creed movies, which follow Apollo Creed's son, Adonis Creed, played by Michael B. Jordan. And as of this recording, there's going to be a third one eventually, maybe next year, who knows. Rocky 4, as old as it is, it's still a really fun time. There's some cheese with it, but not as much cheese as like some of the later installments, like Rocky 4. But to me, this movie will always have a place in cinematic history. No matter how you look at it, it was one of the biggest influences in Hollywood at the time, and it was one of the best, like, underdog stories to ever be put to screen. And hopefully, maybe someday it will get surpassed, but as of right now, this is what we have, and I think it's a really good movie. It's well shot, it's well edited. I think some of the story beats don't necessarily work with me, but it is a movie that has a really fun montage sequence with really excellent music, and that's all you could really ask for with a sports movie nowadays. And I'm going to give Rocky a B+. Thank you guys so much for watching my Rocky review. I hope you guys have a very happy and safe Thanksgiving. Please make sure to wear a mask. Please make sure to social distance. Watch your favorite, movies, whether it be Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Rocky, or even the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving special, whatever. Just stay safe. And, if you excuse me, I got a whole lot of movies to cover for next month. So look forward to a bunch of quick flicks next month.